and welcome back to the Hotline. We are talking F1 2025 and the calendar. Yeah, the FIA has released the calendar. I think this is the earliest we've got the pretty much almost confirmed calendar. So let's get into it, and let's get into the potential problems of the F1 calendar. Interesting article on planetf1.com, which I'd like to get into. But before we do any of that, let's have a look at the F1 calendar. So we've got starting off is Australia, round one, going to China, okay, Japan, then we've got Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, USA, Italy, Monaco, Spain, then Canada, Austria, United Kingdom in its normal July slot, Belgium, this is weird, Belgium and Hungary have kind of switched over. Normally it's Hungary and then Belgium. The Netherlands, Italy, Azerbaijan, Singapore, USA, Mexico, Brazil, USA, that's Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi, with the three USA bases, the three German, the three USA races. Obviously, we got the Miami one early in the year. Then in October, we've got Austin, the GOAT USA track, I think, and then Las Vegas, which surprised, which, if I'm honest, fairly surprised us all. And some of you, eagle-eyed, would have seen that kind of what we were expecting to happen. Australia, March the 14th. So is the first race. Sorry, I don't know why I paused then. March the 14th to the 16th. If you remember this year, it started in February, didn't it? And the first practice session. But March the 14th, the second week of March, is going to be the Australian Grand Prix. And what's interesting also as part of the calendar, if you have a look, if you cast your eyes from the United Kingdom at Silverstone, one of the best tracks on the calendar, there's like a 3-week gap between that and Belgium. And then Belgium and Hungary, there's a 1-week gap. And then we've got the summer break, which is a bit strange, but fair enough. But yeah, that is the calendar. However, as with all things, there are potential problems with the calendar, as I alluded to at the beginning of the video. And these problems, well, let's get into it. Thanks to the article on planetf1.com. Link is in the description below. And it goes on, but being an F1 driver is not all glitz and glamour, as we know. And a look at the confirmed F1 calendar shows what they're saying is this physical challenge being placed on athletes. Once again, we have 24 races, just like this year. But I'd like to say 24 races is quite a lot, and that's not an easy time on the drivers and the teams who are racing essentially 24 times at least. Bearing in mind there'll be a few more because there will be sprint races. And Planet F1 described it as, here are the 5 most brutal runs of the F1 2025 calendar. And it says a 5,000-mile doubleheader to start the season. Hashtag real race as one, we are sustainable. Interesting. So one of the toughest parts of the season comes right at the start. It says drivers will be asked to fly 5,000 meters. 5,000 meters? Sorry, 5,000 miles for the first double header. So with the season opener back in Australia, the teams are going to then travel north to China, the Shanghai circuit, and the location of pre-season testing is yet to be revealed. But I suspect it's potentially going to be Bahrain, maybe Spain. But I think Bahrain's still favourite, and that's more MRs for the drivers to endure at the start of the year. Now, absolutely no, it won't be Australia. And they've also got 2 sudden trips over the Atlantic, and they may not be double headers, but flying halfway across the world is never easy. And on 2 occasions, North America races have been sandwiched in. The first comes early in May, and that, as we know, is the Miami Grand Prix. Teams heading to Europe for May the 18th, but the hardest North Atlantic trip, they say, comes in June, when just 2 weeks after Spain, F1 is going to Canada. And another 2 weeks, they're back in Europe with Austria. I remember the time when we used to have Indianapolis, I think, not in 2000, but later on, because that's, I think, when it debuted in 2000, it was towards the end of the year. But there came a point, for example, in 2007, Lewis Hamilton, because he won the Canadian Grand Prix, his first win in 2000, and then a week later, he won the Indianapolis Grand Prix, and that was straight after, sometimes a week after the Canadian Grand Prix, and that kind of like made sense, which was good. Yeah, which is bizarre, and they've got a whole heap of time differences as well. So as well as the distance they have to cover, as we know, F1 drivers and teams will also need to be constantly adjusting that internal body clock. Over the course of the 2025 season, they will experience 79 hours of time difference, with the most extreme being 13 hours between Singapore and Austin. Now, other notable differences come with Vegas to Qatar, while the mid-season trip to Canada adds 12 hours, and the one to Miami, they're saying, is adding 13. So 2 summer breaks provide potential a rare relief that could break the momentum. Yes, maybe this is why they've got that gap in Silverstone. It says the nature of double headers in the middle of the season means F1 have a extra mini summer break before the proper one in August. Silverstone, as we know, is back in its beginning of July slot, July the 6th, and racing returns at the end of July on July the 27th, meaning that's 3 weeks for a little break. But while the drivers may be thankful for some time off, those looking to get points on the board before their rivals can catch up may not be too pleased with that extended break. And now after Belgium comes Hungary a week later before the summer break begins until the 31st of August, where we head to Max Verstappen territory in the Netherlands. One thing this article doesn't go into, though, and I think one thing that Formula One does not appreciate, is you. Yes, you, right there. I'm staring at you down the camera. An F1 fan, a motorsport fan, even like the casually hardcore fan, let's say. The ones that for 24 times on a Sunday, or maybe Saturday evening, or sometimes I think maybe even, other days, but let's just focus on the race here. That's the race. You sit down and you watch that race. The race is about an hour and a half, an hour 45. If you want to add in the before and after, you're looking at potentially like a 3-hour show. Add into that qualifying as well, which is at least an hour, and add into that sprint races, that is a lot of ask. So 24 times, if you are a hardcore F1 fan, or you just like watching all the races, that's 24 weekends, nearly half the weekends a year, that you will be affected if you want to watch your favourite sport. Now, if you got kids, that's fairly significant. That's half of the weekend. Now, people that work on the weekends and have the odd weekend free, they've got to decide, do I want at the weekend or follow the sport I love at the weekend? Because maybe you like a shift worker, I have that weekend free. Now, Formula One, by having all those extra races, money. Yep, we love the money, Formula One, absolutely. I mean, yeah, okay, I get it. But, and here's the but, I think they are not thinking, not really about the drivers so much, but for me, I think the biggest slog is the people that work for the teams that have to get there. For example, on the Wednesday, set everything up, close down on the Monday, sometimes hours long after, maybe 24 hours after the drivers have gone home. And the drivers are, to a certain extent, they're obviously going to be a lot more pampered than the people that change their tyres, for example, at the pit stops and are still at the tracks when they're on their flight on the way home. And once again, the F1 fan, and I think Formula One sometimes forgets, if it wasn't for you guys, there would be no Formula One. There would be no Formula One. Your eyes watching that TV, watching the YouTube videos, engaging with F1, for example, on Twitter, mentioning it, pictures on Instagram, etc., but that watching the product, you guys are the money spinners. If it wasn't for you, there would be no Formula One. Thanks to Drive to Survive, all the eyes on that, and they've now gone to watch Formula One, for example. There has been a massive fan increase. But do you want to watch essentially what was last year, 24 average races, other than maybe Singapore? There were okay races. I know Sky likes to pretend this is the greatest thing, look at the midfield, etc. Most people want to fight for the win. Completely understand, especially after that 2021 season. And we're not getting it. So is this year, and in particular next year, for our 24 races, it is kind of depressing, because some people are saying Max Verstappen's going to win this one. It's very unlikely. But we tuned into Australia, and wow, he didn't, did he? And that was a really, really good sporting moment. I mean, that probably added 3 or 4 points out of 10 to that race, purely because Max Verstappen didn't finish, and we got a Carlos Sainz victory. But the race itself wasn't that amazing. And yes, there are really good fights within the grid, but I wouldn't say it has produced better races than 2021. And once again, they're asking us, the fan, and you, the fan, to invest all your time. 24 weekends, nearly half the weekends in a year. That's a lot. I know I keep going on about that, but you think about that. That is not too bad. In mind what? Some people live till 70, 80. And if this continues, you know, for half your life, half your week, nearly half your weekends between now and the time you die may well be dominated by Formula One. If you're an F1 fan, if your family love it, great. If they don't, can create some headaches. And most people like watching it live. Anyway, that is my rant over. But I think that is, for me, the biggest problem with the calendar. Too many races. I think burnout. Back in the day, you know, back in the 90s, they used to have between 16, 17, maybe 18 races, and nearly all the races were separated by at least 2 weeks apart. Maybe the odd time. For example, when we had Austria and Germany, they were maybe a week apart, but that happened very rarely. No one could even conceive of having 3 races in 3 weeks. Absolutely not. And it was nice to get that 2 weeks apart. And it made F1 more of an event. And I think that's something that Liberty have taken away at the moment. And they've gone to these. Well, we'll get into it. We're going to do a F1 2025 calendar tier list for the tracks as well coming up, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I think it's too many races. Yes, you can have too much F1, especially if it's meh on the boredom scale. Anyway, I digress now because I'm absolutely ranting. If you made it to the end, like and subscribe. We would really appreciate that. Let's very, very quickly though go back through that calendar. Just to remind ourselves, let me just ball everything up. Okay, let's just go back through that calendar, though, to see, to remind ourselves of the 2024 races. I mean, it's absolutely insane, isn't it? 24 races. So, we have got, bear with me, around what we got. Australia in March. We got followed by China. April. Is Japan. Also April is Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Then on to the USA, Italy, that's Imola, Monaco, can't wait for that. It's always nice to watch, but yeah. Spain, Canada, it could be one of the Spanish Grand Prix last races as well. Austria in June. Early July, we've got the United Kingdom, Silverstone, arguably the home of Formula One for some. Belgium and Hungary switching places this time. The Netherlands in August after that 4-week break. September. Beginning of September, we've got Italy at Monza. Azerbaijan is after that. In October, we've got Singapore, the USA, and then Mexico. The beginning of November, we have Brazil, USA, and Qatar ends November. And there we go, right up until Christmas. We're getting excited for our Christmas shopping. We have Abu Dhabi. And that's the 2025 calendar. Not too dissimilar to this year. We've got the same races, but yeah, moving on. Speak to you soon. Thank you very much.